Well, joining us now is Jamal Abdi, President of the National Iranian-American Council. Mr. Abdi, thank you very much for speaking to us today. Let me ask you, first of all, what you make of the choice that President Trump made to pull back from airstrikes because of concerns about casualties and instead apparently authorise a cyber attack.
Well, I think it was a wise choice considering the alternative. It seems pretty clear that the president has maybe gotten in over his head and has maybe not bargained for exactly what this policy is leading him into. So this was a moment for a tough decision. Does this so-called maximum pressure the United States has engaged upon, is it one where the president is willing to take it all the way to kinetic action? And at least for now, it seems that President Trump, at least, does not want to go in that direction. However, all of the architects of this policy, John Bolton, Mike Pompeo, the real drivers, the architects of this approach, are all saying, let's do military action. So I don't know how long this can go on where without a change in strategy from the very top of the administration.
In the end, the Iranian administration must have been, and I know it's an issue in Iran about who you're talking about, whether it's the president, the government, whether it's the supreme leader or whether it's the Iran Revolutionary Guard, but nonetheless somebody in Iran made a calculation to engage in what is regarded certainly by the administration in Washington and by its allies, including the United Kingdom, as provocative action. Only this afternoon, the British Foreign Minister was in Tehran saying this to the Iranian government, look, we believe that you were responsible for these attacks on tankers in the Straits of Hormuz. So, in a sense, this has been a response, but to a provocation.
Well, if you think about just a few years ago, if something like this had happened, and if the United States had alleged that the Iran was behind it, you would have seen, I think, a much more forceful and united response from the international community. Whereas now, the U.S. has a couple of allies that have been willing to step up, but by and large, the international community is calling for maximum restraint. And at a minimum, viewing this with circumspection, if not outright skepticism. That being said, I think that the Iranians clearly have decided that under the pressure of the sanctions that they are enduring, not because they've done something bad, but because they're actually upholding their nuclear agreements. They're being punished for it. And they have clearly decided that it is time to shift gears and instead of complying with the nuclear deal, to begin trying to put some counter pressure on the United States. And I think that whether this was Iranian proxies, whether it was the Iranians shooting down a drone that was outside of their own airspace, I think is actually kind of a technical matter. The fact is that with the maximum pressure that the United States is piling on the Iran, and Iran's recognition that they can't just sit there silently, that they need to push back and create a counter cost, this kind of thing is inevitable. And the only way that this ends is when the two sides decide, you know what, we've imposed enough pressure, we have enough leverage, we are now on the brink of something that is going to be very bad for everybody involved. We need to now cash our chips in and go to the negotiating table. And until there's a recognition on the United States side, until the Trump administration signals that it's willing to do that, I don't think the Iranians are going to do anything but counter pressure with more pressure.
The risk then, from your view, is of a kind of accidental escalation?
Absolutely. Accidental escalation. And I think that unfortunately, the Iranians don't have a lot to lose. This is a country that already is, in some respects, in a wartime economy. They have economic warfare now being waged against them. And so I think that's why you see this inclination towards some pretty risky behavior, because they feel that they have less to lose than the United States does. And if they sit on their hands, ultimately, there is going to be something very bad that happens to them, whether it's kinetic or it's economic.
Jamal Abdi, great to talk to you. Jamal Abdi there, President of the National Iranian-American Council. Thanks very much.